we're learning over the last 20 years is that male and female categorization doesn't work. I've got a really good idea, right? There's a load of debate about puberty blockers and gender affirming care. If we let transgender young people, transgender feminine young people, have access to the puberty blockers and gender affirming hormones that they are asking to have, then they wouldn't build that muscle mass.
What age are you going to do this to kids?
Well, puberty starts between the age of around about 8 to 11.
You're going to give 8-year-olds drugs to try and resolve this problem?
I'm a mother of 5 children, and you can keep saying because you're a doctor you ought to know this.
Well, you should.
It's just not right.
What are you a doctor in?
The thing is, you know, chromosomes...
What are you a doctor in?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and back to a brand new video. In today's video, we are going to be reacting to a Piers Morgan segment entitled, "That's a Dude, Trans High Jumper Wins in California." And in light of what's going on right now with Riley Gaines versus Simone Biles and the whole conversation of should biological boys or men be in female sports, we all know the answer to that. But it's still a debate because it's still happening. Men are still infiltrating women's sports and women's spaces because the left refuses to call out the crazy. So in this video, we're going to react to some of the moments from this segment. Now, I have not watched this clip yet. I saw it released, I think, last week, and I held off because I wanted to watch it live with you guys. So we are going to go through this video, and hopefully I won't lose my mind too much with my commentary, but I can't make any promises. So sit back, relax, and let's get into this video. All right, and if you see me looking down, it's because my iPad is below me as I'm watching the video. Let's get started.
Critics are demanding that boxer Iman Khalif is stripped of her Olympic gold medal after a leaked medical report appeared to confirm that the female boxing champion is in fact a biological male. J.K. Rowling called the finding a victory for women. But elsewhere this weekend, quite the opposite. 16-year-old student athlete A.B. Hernandez, who's biologically male, tied for first place in the high jump and triple jump of the track and field championships in California. President Trump's executive order to ban transgender athletes in women's sport felt like a full stop on a long and exhausting debate. A number of major sporting bodies all over the world used the cover of Trump's move to announce their own bans. Clearly, the work is not yet finished. Here to debate the implications around both stories, trans rights advocate Dr. Helen Weberly, aka the Gender GP, Sarah Weiss, the trans pickleball player and author of Not Born This Way, and the host of Tommy Lahiry is Fearless on Outkick, Tommy Lahiry. Welcome to all of you. Tommy Lahiry, I am clutching here the lab report which was sensationally published in the last 48 hours, which confirmed what I and many others, you included, had concluded with our own eyes.
He looked like a man.
At the Paris Olympics, where Iman Khalif was looking like a man, boxing like a man, and beating up women in the ring so badly that one, an Italian female boxer, quit after 43 seconds and said she'd never been hit that hard in her life and feared for her life. So it was bleedingly obvious there was something wrong here, particularly when we knew that Iman Khalif had been banned from the previous year's World Championships after reportedly failing a sex test. And this is the result that got leaked. Now, this is pretty unambiguous.
And won a gold medal.
Chromosome analysis reveals male karyotype. That's it. It looks like Iman Khalif is a biological male. Your thoughts?
Shocking.
Yeah, Piers, the science doesn't lie. It's great to have that clarification, though none of us really needed it. I think it was abundantly obvious to those of us with eyes that watched any of this. We knew exactly what was happening here. But you'll recall, Piers, sports journalists, especially here in the United States, they called for people like you and me and Outkick and other outlets that were honest about this to be sued up, down, right, left, center. Oh my gosh, how dare you misgender this person? You guys are so evil. It's so awful. Well, where's the apology? Because as we suspected, the biology test came out, and guess what? 100%, we got our answer. That's a dude. And we need to be very clear about all of this. There is no place for men in women's sports.
Say it louder.
If you're a man who thinks he is a woman, that's fine. You can dress up, you can wear makeup, live your life, I don't care. Until you infringe on women and girls, then we're gonna put our foot down. Finally, here in the US, we have a president that's doing something about it. And I hope California, I know we're gonna get to this with A.B. Hernandez, I hope California loses all of its federal funding. Enough is enough.
Preach.
I completely agree.
Preach.
Dr. Webley, I know you do not completely agree. So let me start by just asking you this question. Why, out of interest, why do we separate the sexes in the Olympics?
Oh, here we go.
It's a historical thing, isn't it? That we have male and female categories.
But why do we do it?
We're learning over the last 20 years is that male and female categorization doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
What?
Because not everybody fits into a very simple male-female category, and that's why we're having discussions like this. It's not.
But
it's
everybody.
Not that
but
easy.
this is the problem with the whole debate. They actually do, because the vast majority of human beings fit into the
What is she
category
talking about?
of male or female.
I have to say something.
Well, no, hang on.
before
I'm
you-
going to come to you, Sarah, and I will. I promise you.
The vast majority, you say, and that's the vast majority, and that's.
It's
the
only in the
difficulty.
last like 2 or
And
3
you
years
talk-
that suddenly half the world went, actually, I'm transgender. Before that, everyone lived quite
Less
happily
than
as male or female.
0.1%.
With a few
No,
people identifying it who were leading perfectly good lives, and there was no problem. Suddenly, everybody wanted to be on the transgender train, and then everything had to be changed.
Yep.
Women's rights had to be destroyed.
Yep.
Women's rights to fairness, equality, safety had to be completely ignored and eradicated at the altar of transgender activism. And I have nothing against transgender people. I've said from day one, if you're transgender, that's absolutely fine by me. I hope
Exactly.
you have the exact same human rights as me.
Just don't
In every
erode
regard,
on
to
women's
human
rights.
to safety, equality, all of it. But that's not what's happening. And in women's sport, unfortunately, this absurd obsession with allowing transgender athletes to compete in women's sport has seriously damaged the integrity
Insanity.
of women's sport,
Insanity.
the fairness, the equality, and as we saw at the Olympics, the safety. We now know that Imam Khalif was a bloke.
Well, Imam Khalif is not transgender, so I don't really know why.
Well, you
we are
don't know
bringing
that
one
actually,
into
do
it.
you? You don't actually know what you don't know what Imam Khalif is. All we know
What
from
we do
know
all we
is
from
Iman
this
is a man.
leaked lab report is that Imam Khalif tested positive for
See.
male chromosomes. So last time I checked, that makes you male.
Well, I don't know how that
Have you
came
seen
into
your
your
lab
possession.
reports, Pierce?
Well, it's here. It was leaked. Yeah, it was
Have
leaked.
you seen yours? Do you know what your chromosomes
I
are?
know that I'm a man.
He's a
yes,
man, you
I am
idiot.
a male. And by the way, if I took you on at pickleball with enough training, I would win. You know why? That's why we separate the sexes. And I'm sure you're great at pickleball, but I also know that, for example, when the American women's football team, soccer, as you so shamefully call it, but when the women's soccer team with Megan Rapinoe, that towering force of
they
equality,
got roasted
when
and
she was
toasted.
leading that team, they were the best women's soccer team in history. And they played, I think it was the Dallas under 15 men's team, and they lost about 7-1. Right? Which just kind of suggested to me that my theory that the reason we separate the sexes is because males have a biological advantage is actually why the transgender debate in women's sport is also obviously wrong.
It's
Let me
not
bring
rocket
in you
science.
here, Sarah, because
It was mentioned that it was obvious that Imam Khalif was a male.
yes.
And I
Yes.
think that is part of the most harmful part of this is that
Oh,
we are
God.
categorizing what is femininity. And then we're putting it out there like propaganda.
No,
to
male
define
biology. We're
if somebody-
categorizing
no,
what is
hold on.
male
If somebody
Hang on,
doesn't
hang on,
look
hang on.
feminine enough.
No.
then
It's not
they're
about femininity.
recognized.
It's about identifying male biology when we see it with our
You
own
can
eyes.
Identify things with lab reports all you want, but if we are putting out this propaganda that you
The
have to
results
look a
don't
specific
lie.
way, and if it's obvious that you look masculine, then you're going to go
Actually,
under a
no,
microscope of people who do not like
Stupidity.
the fact.
Hang on, Sarah. No, it's when you look that way and it's already known that you, the year before,
There you go.
failed a sex test, which meant you were banned from the World
Durr.
Championships. It's
Well,
the
you
two,
might say that about
It's the
me.
two things going together. It's like, oh, hang on. This person was banned
Exactly.
for testing positive
It's called
apparently,
common
for
sense.
male chromosomes. Cue the lab report, which now confirms that, and is now competing in women's sport in the Olympics in a boxing ring where her women opponents are quitting after 40 seconds because they've never been hit that hard. I'm putting all these three things together and I'm saying this is wrong. Why aren't you?
Now, the problem, though, is that if you're putting that out, and sure, there might be certain things that say, hey, well, what about the accusations that she's a male and stuff? the fact that
She
there
is
are
a man.
many
She's
lesbian
a man.
women or women who do not look feminine enough. Yes,
But
I'm
they're
not
still
disagreeing.
women.
To do with the
Know
way
what I'm
she
saying? I'm
looks.
not
They're
arguing with
still
you.
Sorry,
women.
I'm
I
here to
don't care how
stand
she
for
looks.
the
She could be 8
safety
foot
of
tall
all
for all I care,
women.
with a long scraggly beard. It has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that she's a biological male.
The science don't
That
lie.
is the problem, which gives her a natural. And let me bring in Dr. Webley. You know, as a doctor, that men have a biological advantage. Muscle
Watch her
mass,
play dumb.
lung capacity, blah, 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 blah. It's why we separate the sexes. Otherwise, in the Olympics, women wouldn't win any gold medals.
Simone
or
Biles?
silver or bronze.
Not true.
Actually, women would
I've got
win.
a good idea
I
for
think
you.
I
I've
read
got
a
a good
survey that
idea.
said women might win 2 medals in the entire Olympics if they made it gender neutral, which would be a disgrace. It's
called biology.
Now, Dr. Webley,
I've
why are you
got
as
a
a
good
doctor
idea
trying to
for you.
ignore biology?
I haven't been able to speak yet, so I don't know why I'm being
Feel
accused of
free. Fire
ignoring
away.
it. Thank you. I've got a really good idea, right? There's a load of debate about puberty blockers and gender affirming care amongst transgender people worldwide. If we let transgender young people, transgender feminine young people, have access to the puberty blockers and gender affirming hormones that they are asking to have, then they wouldn't build that muscle mass.
Nope, they're
They
kids.
wouldn't have
Next.
increased skeletal size, and they wouldn't have
What
the
age are you going to do
advantage.
this?
Well, you usually get puberty blockers when puberty starts. That's
So what
happens.
age are you going to do this to kids?
She won't say.
Well, I just answered when puberty starts.
give me
you
an
block
age.
it.
Of course.
Well, puberty starts between the age of around about 8 to 11.
You're going to
depending on
give
whether you've got
8-year-olds
testicles or
drugs
ovaries.
to try and resolve
Lord
this
have
problem.
mercy.
Have you learned nothing from the whole Tavistock clinic thing? Well, I don't think it's funny. I'm a father of 4 kids, including
people
a
are freaking
13-year-old
sick.
girl.
They're
I don't
sick.
think any of this is funny. The fact that your
Well, I told you
solution is
there
to
because
drug
I-
is to
I'm a
block
mother of
puberty
5
for 8-year-old kids. Really?
You shouldn't be.
I'm a mother of 5 children,
You shouldn't
and
be.
I believe that every single child deserves the right to live their best life.
Absolutely fine.
And for
As Tommy said,
for some
nobody has a
children, that is
problem.
a transgender
You can
life.
live as a dog or a cat, as far as I'm concerned. It's
No,
fine.
I don't think I'd let my children do that. Sorry.
Well, actually,
Are you
there
sure?
are kids at school
You sure
with
about that?
furries who go
Exactly.
as a cat. And I
We've
think
Exactly.
had this argument time and time again.
and my
We're not talking
solution,
about
by the way,
furries.
my solution is I would absolutely respect their right to be a little furry cat, and I would give them a little litter tray outside the thing where they could
Well,
go and
well, I
urinate,
wouldn't.
and I give
I
them cat
wouldn't
food.
as a
And trust me,
doctor,
after
and I
2
wouldn't
days,
as a
they're
mother.
back being girls again. Tommy,
Here's- I have a
Tommy,
question.
the
I have a
answer,
question I'd
Tommy.
really
Well, hang
like-
on,
I'd
Sarah.
like to ask you.
Hang on.
Hold on. Before I continue, this is why the left is batshit crazy, and this is why they continue to lose on this argument. This is why Donald Trump won last year. This is why they will continue to lose and they will die on this hill, because of what she just said just now. She said out of her filthy mouth, if we just give kids puberty blockers, they wouldn't have to go through puberty, and then they can compete in sports as an adult. So let's medically castrate children, even though their minds and their brains are not fully developed. Let's still castrate them because they feel like a girl on a Thursday. Let me ask you a question. If a kid tells you at 8 years old, I want to drink a beer, are you going to say, okay, drink a beer? Or I want to get a tattoo. Okay, get a tattoo. No, we put barriers and boundaries because we understand that children do not make decisions that are logical all the time because they're children. So if a kid tells you, I want to be a girl, the fact that your immediate reaction is let's put you on puberty blockers and get you medically castrated, which is going to affect your life for the rest of your life. And then we'll just see what happens when you turn 21 and she's a mother of 5. CPS, where are you? CPS, where are you? Because mothers like this should not be mothers. Parents like this should not be parents. Disgusting. And yes, we do know the difference between men and women. So the fact that she's sitting there saying, oh, well, the reason why we're having this debate is because we don't really know the differences and the male and female category doesn't really work. In what universe, lady? In what universe? The woke, crazy universe, that too. Everyone else, we got it. We understand. We accept biology. Imam Khalif, biologically speaking, is a male, has male chromosomes. Full stop. Done. Doesn't matter how he looks, how he presents. It matters what his biology reads. And if it reads XY, he's a dude.
Don't all talk at once. Tommy, the answer apparently is to give puberty blockers to 8-year-olds.
Get him, Tommy.
So my
Years.
question,
That's called child abuse.
Yep.
And the fact that you have somebody on this panel
A medical
that is
professional.
advocating for the ability to debilitate young boys so that they have gender delusion, so that their body is now being mutilated, their actual biology is being changed irreversibly, so that they compete against little girls. That's really the solution here. Let's debilitate boys so they don't have an advantage. Let's make sure that they don't have better muscle capacity and lung capacity.
Preach.
Let's make sure that they're just debilitated. Why don't we just break their arms and their legs while we're at it so that they can compete against the little girls? Do you realize how sick that sounds? That's abuse.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is. And Sarah,
Drop the mic.
I know you're keen to
Preach.
get into this debate. So on Saturday, A.B. Hernandez wins gold
disgusting.
in the girls' high jump and triple jump, the California High School Track and Field Championships. The problem is,
Unreal.
A.B. Hernandez is a biological male, right? So that means a girl
Full stop.
has been
Male.
deprived of winning 2 gold medals. How can that be fair? How is that right? How is any of this not just completely insane? And why would you, as a trans person, not see that and then think the obvious solution to this is that either you compete against your biological sex, as most trans athletes have done for many years before they suddenly put their hand up and say, I want to compete against women, and then they're much more and then they're much more successful, which says it all. Or you have your own category. What is wrong with having a trans category? What is wrong with that?
Not to mention, really quickly, if you notice, trans men, which is biological females who identify as men or who identify as non-binary, they still compete in the female category. You know why? Because they know that if they were to compete in the male category, they would get absolutely crushed. Just ask the non-binary trans runner who, and I forgot her name, but I'll put it up here somewhere, who doesn't want to be called a woman, but competes in the woman's category. Why? Because if she went to the male category, she would get crushed. That's why. It's called science.
There's so much to unpack here. I mean,
Not
first
really.
of all, tell me exactly how many trans athletes have gone and made a career out of sports, who are making a living out of sports as a pro athlete. It
Well, the
just
United
doesn't
Nations
exist.
said
and
that
the whole
United
argument that
Nations
you
said-
are all using that it's
The United
massive
Nations said 900
where trans
medals
women
have
are
been
dominating.
The United
That
Nations.
would be easy
Hang
to point
on.
out to all the people
Hang
who are
on.
dominating, and
You
they're
asked
not.
me a question, I'm replying. The United Nations had a report recently that said 900 medals last year around the world were deprived from female athletes because biological males who were trans athletes competing in women's sport won the medals.
Stealing medals.
It's
No,
much
they're
more prevalent.
including,
It's much more
participation
prevalent.
medals in that,
It's much
right?
more prevalent than the trans world would like people to think. And now you've got people like A.B. Hernandez, who's being supported all over the place by a woke left who didn't get the memo from Trump's win that people are sick of this garbage.
How terrible is it that a trans woman is doing well?
It's
How terrible is it
that
that
a-
you have to point
it's
out
terrible
Against
that
real
a
women, you
biological
idiot.
male-
She's got a
It's
medal.
terrible that a biological male has an unfair physical advantage that allows the trans athlete, in this case A.B. Hernandez, to win gold medals in 2 state events.
They like to play
It
dumb.
is
Such
They
an
like to play
advantage.
dumb.
You would
It
think
is
she
shame-
won some
it is-
kind of
it is an
record-breaking
absolute-
victory, which
Sarah,
she did not.
Sarah, it is an absolute disgrace, and you know it. In your heart, you know it. This trans
But won't admit
nonsense
it.
in sport has to stop. My question for you, why don't you just
Why
have...
is it nonsense?
Why don't you... Because you've got an unfair advantage. It's like cheating with drugs. It's the same thing. It's like when all the cyclists...
then
when
why do
took
we
EPO.
celebrate
I have
it in
fatigue.
males?
I have
Sorry?
fatigue.
Celebrate biological advantages in males. Why?
Because they're
When did you
competing
ever see
against
a
men.
trans man do well in sport?
many times.
Go on, name
Many
one.
times.
Name one in the
you
boxing.
guys just aren't focused
Name one
on
in
it
the
because
boxing
they're
ring.
males.
You ever see a trans male
Or a
boxer
UFC
do well?
fighter.
Yes.
Go on, where? Name me an Olympic gold
I don't
medal.
have my source in front of me.
Name me the last time
unfortunately.
a
I'm
trans
not
male
here to-
I don't have my
Olympic
CNN talking
gold
points in front of me.
against a bloke.
How many trans people in general are winning
More and
Olympic
more
medals?
and more.
It
That's the
may
One
problem.
be
is
So I
enough.
say,
And you
Too
have
many.
your own,
destroy
have your
for
own
too many.
pickleball trans category. I don't care. I want you to be enjoying your sport. I want you to be great at your sport. I want you to live your life, live your dream. I just don't want you trashing women's rights.
There you
What's
go.
wrong with that?
Women's rights are my rights.
You're a
Well, they're
man.
not
Women's
really when it comes to
rights
sport,
are my
are they?
rights
No,
as
you're
well.
not- if you're
and
not
if
a
you
woman, then
to
they're
try
not
and
your
take
rights.
away my rights, that's on you. But I will fight every day.
You're
for the
taking
people who
women's
are being
rights away. Why would you-
discriminated against?
Why
do you
demonized
care about
just
your
because
rights,
they
but not
This is
women's
support
misogyny.
that they love.
Right, why do you care about your rights so much, but not women's rights?
I do.
You don't.
I am a woman. So I care about my rights as a woman.
You
And I
have a
stand for
superior
women with
advantage to actual biological females. You know it, and I know it.
My biology is much more female than it is male. And we can go on about science, but I'm not here to talk about science. I want you to get to know
It's
trans
all
people
about
before you
science.
try and demonize them.
I don't
can tell
demonize
you
trans
this.
people. I know trans people. Caitlyn Jenner's a good friend of mine. Right, Caitlyn Jenner won Olympic gold as a decathlete
And
for the
Caitlyn
United
knows
States.
the difference
as a
between
male-
men
as
and
a
women.
male, because Caitlyn was born a biological male. Caitlyn now is a trans
so
woman
why don't you
celebrated
want to
around the
allow
world, and she
your big
absolutely
thing-
understands she has a superior biology, so she does not think it's fair. Why is she
Oh, okay.
wrong and you're right?
Because she's
I'm not
conservative.
saying I'm wrong or right.
So
I
she's
can
wrong.
only tell you my experience. But what I can say is that if you truly believe that going through male puberty is something that gives you such a massive advantage, then why are you fighting so hard to take away the rights of anyone who wants to go through puberty blockers, which is safe and reversible?
It's not
and make the
reversible.
decision
Not when you're
amongst
8 years old, you
themselves.
idiot.
That's a lie. That is a lie. That
No,
is
it's
a
not
lie. Not only are you advocating for child abuse, but what this is, Piers, this is not only gender dysphoria and delusion. This is pure narcissism.
illness.
It's a group of people that have decided that they are special cases, that they are sacred cows, that they get to do whatever the hell they want. They get to trample over everybody else, and we have to concede to them because they feel that they are special. You
Your
can
feelings.
be special or you can be equal, but you cannot
But what
be
is your
both. If you want to
problem
live your
with
life as a
someone
female,
who has
whatever,
nothing
but
to do
not
with
when
you?
you're trampling on the rights of women.
That's right.
Period. This is narcissism. This is saying, look at me, I'm more important. All those other girls can get over it. It's just a few girls that are being left in the dust. Oh, well,
That's
just
what
a
you're
few
doing.
examples. If there's one
That's what
woman
you're doing.
who's being disadvantaged,
Just
if
one.
there's one woman
There
that's
you
being
go.
disadvantaged, that's too many.
Yep.
And Piers, it really, really burns my ass when I hear people say, oh, it's just a few examples. Those girls can just get over it. How about the one trans person? How about they get over it and compete against the boys? How about that?
Yeah,
How about this?
listen.
You know, you talk about having separate divisions
I love
for
Tommy.
trans people.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's pretty split down the middle between people who support trans people and people who do not. And here's the opportunity you have to create a league where trans people aren't allowed. Go for it. And there's an opportunity to create.
I
leagues
think you
where
should. I
we
think in your
accept
case,
all.
Do it.
I think in your case, you should either compete against male pickleball players or compete
Well, that's what
in
you
a,
think.
or compete in a.
But you
in
are
a-
not everybody.
Or you
Piers.
compete
and
in
I
a
do
trans-
agree that there are many who agree with you, and there are many who agree with me that there is no
No,
threat.
I don't know
actually,
why you want
the
to
polls
be.
don't
transgender women
agree with you.
Sarah, why do you want to
propose.
be a cheat? I mean, seriously, why do you want to be a cheat? That's what you're doing. You're cheating.
You're a man. Sorry. Get over it.
Cheating? No,
Yes.
That's very
I'm playing the sport
disrespectful.
I love.
I think that's
You know what?
very
You know what,
Sport I
Dr.
love, but
Webley?
people I
It's
love.
really,
Feelings are
it
hurt.
really isn't. It cuts to the heart of the debate. It is cheating. It is knowingly using a superior biology from birth to beat women who are born with female bodies. It is cheating.
I'm not a
And it's time to
scientist,
call
Piers.
it out for what it is. And Dr. Webley, the idea you're a doctor and don't think that this is about science
A
is
doctor.
breathtaking to me. Breathtaking.
Doctor.
Of course it's about
Human
science.
being. I'm a doctor, I'm a human being, I'm a compassionate person.
What's that got to do
And
with
I
it?
think-
Why aren't you compassionate to women
Do you
who are
want to
losing
hear what I
gold
have to
medals
say
to
or
men?
not? I don't
Get her, Piers.
understand
Get
why
her.
you have that both of you have this huge thing where we have to, not one single woman must be affected by these terrible
why
trans
should they?
people. What about inclusion? We are living in a world where we want everyone.
Oh, it's got nothing to do with inclusion. This is where the trouble
I
starts.
It has everything.
What's
to do with
inclusive
inclusion.
about
This is
women
about
losing
What
to
about
men in
inclusion?
boxing? What's
Yeah.
inclusive
But
about
very
that?
clearly that in this panel we have 3 women and we have 1 man. You've been very clear about that.
Well, you
And
have
the
2
3
women,
here
1
should
man,
have equal
and 1
rights.
trans woman. That's what you have.
2 men
We
and
have
2
3
women.
women and we have
We
1
have 2
man. And the
biological
3
males
women
and 2
all
biological
deserve
females.
to have
You
the
could call
same
it anything you
rights.
like, but we have
Sorry.
2 biological males and 2 biological females. That's what we have on this panel.
All right, guys, I'm going to stop the video here at 21 minutes and 42 seconds. I mean, what do you say to that? You have a doctor. A doctor of what? A doctor of delusion. That's what you have. Doctor of delusion. Because she's sitting there and saying, what about inclusion? What about the feelings? What about that? Let's medically castrate children. I'm telling you, this world is sick. But you know what? I'm glad we're hearing this, because that type of mentality and that type of ideology is exactly why people are pushing back now. And they're like, no, absolutely freaking not. We're not going to tippy-toe any longer, because tippy-toeing is what got us to where we are right now. And look, I'm 1000% in favor of just creating a third category. The problem is, when World Aquatics tried to create a third category for biological men who identify as women, none of them showed up. You know why? Because they want to beat biological females, because that validates their delusion and their mental illness. That's why. They don't want to be in a category with each other because they're competing against other biological men. What's the fun in that? No, they want to validate themselves by being in an all biological female category. Well, sorry, not gonna cut it. Not anymore. I will always stand with women on this issue. Cancel me, I don't care. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video. Where do you stand on this topic, and what is your perspective of Amin Khalif being called out as a man? Science don't lie. Sorry. If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video. Until next time, peace.